Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to get started. Thank you, everyone, for being here. This is our third town hall of 2026. And the fellowship requested that the Board of Trustees host these town halls for the fellowship to ask questions and make suggestions about GSA World Services. This meeting is being recorded. Does anybody object to La Comunidad Hispana Intergroup publishing the audio recording on their YouTube channel? If anyone objects, we will not publish, and no shame if anybody objects. Okay. There being no objections, according to GSA World Services Policy to La Comunidad Hispana Intergroup, will publish the audio of the town hall in English and Spanish. Although I don't see anyone here, but okay. The notes will be published on the website. We are using Wordly. Thank you to Grania, who stepped up because I haven't quite mastered it. For those who speak a language other than the speaker's language, most of the presentations and reports today will be in English, and to La Comunidad Hispana Intergroup participants will use Wordly to hear and read it in Spanish. Please speak slowly and clearly and in complete sentences with a minimum of slang and colloquialisms to make it easier for Wordly to accurately translate your meeting. I don't see anybody here yet from the community, but they will be, if there is a question, they will be presenting it in Spanish. And those of us who do not speak Spanish will use Wordly, and it's pretty cool. So unless you are multilingual, now is the time to open up Wordly and prepare to hear and read all of our speakers today. Thank you again, Grania. Okay, at this point in the meeting, we love to invite all board members who are here to please introduce yourselves with your name, your location, your abstinence date, your role, and the length of service. And I am going to start with Amy, our treasurer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy. I'm the treasurer of World Service, and I am I'm still in my first year actually right now, in my term, and I can't remember what else I'm supposed to say. I live in Northern California,
Your date of
and
abstinence.
my date of abstinence is December 30th, 1989.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. Amy's on the executive committee. And I should say Marvin, who's our president, could not attend, and Stacy also is not able to be here. She typically runs these meetings. So I ran it last quarter, and I hope you'll be patient because I'm still just finding my way. Okay, I will introduce myself. I'm Barbara L. from the Boston area, and I have been abstinent since April 30th, 2005. And I am the liaison to the nominating committee, and I've sort of been acting co-liaison with Michal from Israel, who also could not attend today, on the Public Information Committee. I'll report on that later. And I am a liaison to the Northeast Intergroup. So how about if we go to Peggy?
Hi, everyone. Peggy, compulsive eater and food addict. And I'm on the board of trustees of the World Service and have been on that for a pretty short time, I think since it's less than a year. And I'm the liaison to the literature committee, but not more importantly, equally important, as you'll hear today, along with Barbara L. I am the co-chair of our new workshop committee, which is what you'll hear about today. And my absence date is December 28th, 1989. 2 days before my sister Amy.
Yay. Thank you, Peggy. And next we have Carla, who is doing an amazing service of moderating. So thank you, Carla.
Hi, I'm Carla, and I am a Board of Trustees member, and I'm coming on to 2 years, and I liaison with the Communication Committee. I live in Washington State, and my abstinence date is March 31st, 2007. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. And Jessica, come on in.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jessica, and I'm calling in from Jacksonville, Florida. And I just had 7 back in June, and I'm obviously a new. And I am within my first year of service with the Board of Trustees, and I am the liaison to the Phone Bridge Intergroup. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica. And next we have Deb. Come on in, Deb.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. Hi, everybody. I'm Deb from Michigan, and I've been on the Board of Trustees since October, I believe, of last year. So I'm in my first year. My abstinence date is January the 8th, 2020, and then COVID hit. So I don't know, good and bad news, I guess, in terms of GreySheet. Let's see, I'm from Michigan, and I am liaison to the website committee. Is that it? Okay, I think that's everything.
Well, that's a lot. Thank you, Deb, for your service. Next, we have Layla.
Hi everyone, I'm Layla. I'm in the UK. I'm a compulsive eater, and I've been on the Board of Trustees a little less than 8 weeks, so very, very new. And at the moment, I'm the liaison to the European intergroup meetings, but I'm not yet allocated to a committee. So grateful to be here.
Thank you, Layla. And last but not least is Jen.
There we go. Hi, everybody. I'm Jen. Do what we all do. I'm on the Board of Trustees. Been a year and a half, something like that. I don't know. What was the other things I'm doing? I'm sorry. Where I'm from, I'm in Western Massachusetts. Today's my eighth anniversary. What else? What else am I saying? Sorry, I got on late. I wasn't on
No, it's
meeting.
fine. That was basically,
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Again, thank you to everyone who's doing service. I know I'm going to repeat that a lot, but it definitely takes a village to do this meeting. So thanks again, Grania, for Wordly, and Carla, and Sharon, who volunteered to time. Next, I will review the agenda. This is a 90-minute meeting. We did our intros and welcomes. The next 20 minutes, which we will start timing as soon as I stop talking, will be World Service questions and feedback. And then, did you have a question, Peggy? Okay.
No, sorry. I was just hand gesturing.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. And then the special topic, which as Peggy mentioned and is very excited to present, is the board workshop meeting that we are going to be rolling out in the fall. And then the update on progress of our vision and 4 core functions. We are not having any intergroup presentations today because a couple of people were not quite ready, so we'll start that up again. And Amy will then come in to present the seventh tradition and donations report, in addition to a couple of other suggestions for what GreySheeters can do in terms of contributions, and then any announcements, and then the closing. Are there any questions about the agenda? Okay. So we will start, and Sharon, now you can officially start the timer for 20 minutes. And if we don't go that whole time, we'll just start the timer up again with the next item on the agenda. So this is the time for the community to ask any questions, have anything they want to know about. If I can't answer it, either I will say, we'll get back to you, and someone will get back to you, or someone else on the board may be able to answer it more effectively. So if there are any questions, please raise your virtual hand to speak, and we welcome anything. Okay, there's a 587 number, so I'm not sure who you are, but come on in. You just need to unmute. Okay, you're on.
Thanks so much, Barbara. Thank you. It's Catherine in Canada from the Phone Bridge chair, intergroup chair. What was I going to say? You can change my number to my name if you like. Anyway, my question was about two things. I had the opportunity to read through quite a portion of the Google Workspace privacy agreement, and I just wanted to know if using Google Drives and everything, if we've read through that, just because it has an impact on all the connected emails and stuff. So there's that piece. And the other part, and I'm wondering if this is what it's related to, that new requirement to have the anonymous email. It says on the registration thing, it says in the future we're going to require this. So I'm wondering if we can still go the other. This is related, in case people don't know, it's related to registering a group or updating the info on a group. There's a little thing that says get an anonymous email versus one with your last name or a company, that kind of thing. And I understand the attraction, not promotion deal and no affiliation, all that stuff. But I'm just wondering if it's related to the privacy agreement with the Google Drive, if it's also sort of a protection for that. It's about 44 pages long, but it's important for, I think, people who are attached to a workspace environment, that they know what it means, kind of deal, related to privacy or lack thereof. Anyway, that's it. If you can find a question in there or an answer, right. Go for it.
Well, Catherine, that was an excellent point. I was listening for the question, but it is great to bring it up, because I'm sure there are people right now who are like, what is that? What are you talking about? And Grania, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but as the registrar and the past president, I'm going to put you on the spot if you can provide any insight, since our vice president, who also could help, is not here. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. Thank you, Catherine. The requirement that the website not include any personally identifying information about our members is completely separate from the fact that GSAWS uses Google tools. It's a safety measure, a security measure, an anonymity and a confidentiality measure that the website committee adopted and the board adopted for the website. so that when you register a group and you provide a contact person to go on the website, that contact person's email goes on the website. And if it says graniamatthews@gmail.com, that is too much information to put on the web. So what we ask is that you get an anonymous email address, something like gmireland@yahoo.com. Other instances where it's too much information is when people use their company, their work email address as their contact address. And it says something like grania@Microsoft or grania@, I don't know, cspan.com. So that's a totally separate requirement. That's about confidentiality, anonymity, safety, and security of our members. I personally have not read the Google privacy agreement, but it's a really good point for the board to take a look at, since as an organization, we've adopted the use of Google tools, and we are an anonymous organization. So it may be something that we need to look at.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I hope that answers Catherine's question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, for bringing that up. And it will be on our notes to bring back to the board. And thank you, Grania. Dottie, come on in.
Hi, Dottie Absent and grateful. And you mentioned a Board of Trustees workshop. I'm curious, is that like, are you making a video to help new members join the board? Would it be available for the membership itself to view? And sounds cool.
Thank you for that question, Dottie. And we will, after this part, Peggy and I actually will be going into detail about what it is and what the vision is. And we're actually asking for input from the community. So thanks for raising it. And as soon as Sharon says time's up, we will go to that topic. Any other questions? So we may be getting there sooner than you think. Oh, Wendy, come on in. You are muted. You're muted, Wendy. Still muted. Oh, there you go.
All right. Hi, I am an absent GreySheeter and happy to be here. And I have two questions, and I don't think they're the type you can answer right away. One has to do with understanding of the traditions. I'm curious what you consider, because the traditions are so important in providing a framework for our program. Do you consider it adequate to, let's say, read the 12 and 12? And here I'm referring to the AA 12 and 12. Actually, I'm curious whether you rely on the GreySheet 12 and 12, which is very, very different in the theories and principles from the GreySheet, from the AA one. Or do you look at the literature and, let's say, especially what Bill W. has wrote from the time that the traditions were created up until the time he died? He generated enormous amount of commentary about, things he got right, things he got wrong. And I don't automatically recommend him, but I think he was a wise man and it's useful. So, and my analogy here is like, if you want to use the U.S. Constitution as a framework, it's not enough to read the Constitution and to memorize its provisions. It's a lot more how it's been used, what's happened. So that's my first question. And then the other question is about 6 months ago, I sent in something to the trustees asking about, oh, I'm sorry, is it, no, that's right, to the trustees proposing something that I've considered to be important for a long time, consideration of the possibility of reaching out to the scientific community that studies obesity to include GreySheet in its studies. And here, the reason I believe it should be done is that AA, it made a huge difference, especially in the last 10 years, when the scientific studies show that AA is among the most effective means of bringing sobriety. So that's one. So that's why I'm asking, and there are so many benefits. The main one is that we have a much better chance of getting understanding from the society at large why the way we operate is so essential. And my hope is that that would mean that we would eliminate much of the antagonism there is to the idea of weighing and measuring in restaurants. Let's say that we had restaurants that agreed to be GreySheet restaurants and set up provisions to make it easy for GreySheeters to go and weigh and measure. Because I do believe that the weighing and measuring probably leads to a lot of people losing their abstinence over time, and also doctors telling people to eat carbohydrates. I think if we had scientific opinion publicly backing our program, that it would just help our members so much more. So those
Thank you, Wendy. Really, thank you for both of those points. One of them, well, I'll speak to both of them. I'm not sure if they will answer your questions, but I will also direct you. With regard to the traditions in the literature, I mean, what my response would be, and I may bring Sharon in as the chair of the literature committee here, but one of our traditions is each group is autonomous. And so there are groups that only do the traditions, and we even have a committees connecting. And it's funny that you're bringing that up because on the board, there's been some conversation about, the committees connecting meetings meet quarterly. Correct me if I'm wrong, Carla. And the board participates in that, each of us doing a deep dive into the concept and the tradition. And so that is where we bring the traditions in and talk about how they work in our lives. And in terms of the literature, I know that Sharon, as the chair of the literature committee, they, go to great lengths and work very hard to bring us literature that is specific to GreySheet. And, people can use them in the meetings as much as they want. And it's approved by the board, every bit of it, and World Service. So I guess I want to make sure that you're feeling heard, but my response would be that we use the traditions and the literature as we, see fit in our respective meetings, aside from the committees connecting. Peggy, I do want you to speak to this. Let me just go on to number 2 before I go back to you. It's an excellent point, and I urge you, with regard to the scientific community, to come attend the next Public Information Committee, because that is a way to really get some people together and make a concerted effort. Because I think it's essential, and I love it. Personally, I think it's great, and it also is key to the Public Information Committee getting the word out. So thank you really for those. And I'm going to now go back to Peggy, who may speak to the literature and traditions.
Yeah, just very, very briefly, because it's such an important question. Well, both of them are, but just speaking to the first one, 4 times a year, we have something like a town meeting, only the focus is the traditions and the concepts. And people from the board and other people each prepare a deep, deep discussion of each one. And yet, did I freeze? Am I frozen? Sorry, my iPad's dying. I got to
You're
get
not frozen, Peggy.
Oh,
You're
okay.
not.
Unfortunately, very few people come, and and this is the opportunity to discuss concepts and traditions and across the GreySheet community. Beyond that, as Barbara said, so that's all. Beyond that, it happens internally to each group as to whether we read a tradition or not at one's in the format. So, one important thing is to encourage GreySheeters to come to discuss traditions and concepts.
Thank you, Peggy. And Sharon, come on in.
Hi, I'm Sharon. I'm a grateful member of this fellowship abstinent. So thank you so much, Wendy, for your question. And just to drop into the massive amount of work that went into producing GSA's 12 steps and 12 traditions. It wasn't sort of information just plucked out of the air. So deep dive and research was done into Bill W.'s work of how the AA traditions were formulated, taking huge cognizance and huge notice of the process that they went through as a fellowship, much more experienced than us. And then across other 12-step fellowships, I know the committee at the time did a lot of research to arrive at GSA's interpretation of those same traditions. And as has been shared, there's an opportunity for our members to attend a traditions workshop through Committees Connecting 4 times a year to really look at that material and have a discussion about how it's interpreted within your own personal groups, in your life, in your relationships. It's a wonderful resource. And just to say that a lot of research went into publishing the current edition. And if there are any views or further research that are being done by members that want to add value to the existing first edition, we're available if the fellowship wants a second edition, and for those traditions as they're currently written to be added to be expanded on, then we're open to receive those proposals and act on your behalf. And then just secondly, if I could just quickly share my screen, Wendy, we have a huge amount of resources for professionals, which you can take off our literature section. Let me just share my screen quickly and show you where on our website you can find this information. I hope you can see my screen. It's just loading now. So on our website, greysheet.org, if you click on resources, you can see there's a whole section on professional information for professionals. This is a great lead into any request to be included on an agenda at a conference around the scientific research into obesity, making an approach. And as Barbara said, please come along to the PI committee. We'd love to hear your ideas. We'd love to hear when these scientific conferences are being held so that we can be considered to be on the agenda. So I appreciate your help. Have a look at our resources. Any other questions, don't hesitate to pop them in the chat. Thank you. And just for the group, we've got 2 minutes and 28 seconds remaining in this section.
Thank you so much, Sharon. And again, thank you, Wendy, for such a thoughtful questions. That was great. Any other questions? Catherine, you are muted still. Okay.
I don't like wasting my breath. Anyway, I just thank you for letting me know. I just want to check if it's possible to have an invite sent out to at least intergroup chairs, but perhaps I suspect they probably go out to ISRs, but even more of the membership for those committee connecting. I know the ISRs and chairs are quote unquote obliged to be there. But I wonder if an invitation more sent out wider would be sort of effective in getting more participation, because I think that's a really good point about people not showing up. I think it has a lot to do with people not knowing about it. Then the other question was, is there somewhere you could highlight for us on the World Service website that has current, we have a wonderful member as our ISR right now, but it's a very new role. So I'm wondering if there's anywhere on the website you can highlight to us specifically that members can go to related to any upcoming resolutions or anything that they can do their own research on in preparation for the World Service conference.
Okay, that's a great question. What I can say is that there should be a place on the website, and I'm going to just ask Carolyn, come on, there were a couple questions there. So before we bring you in, Carolyn, I know we have probably 30 seconds left. So I'll just speak to that because that is getting the word out seems to be the key message. So Carolyn, why don't you take that one?
Yeah, so before, we have not gotten the materials yet, but typically well before the World Service Conference, we get the materials, we post them on the website. There's a whole section on the front page of the website. There's a section that says what's new, and we'll have a banner headline there saying read the resolutions for the coming World Service, and it'll have all the associated material with them too. We don't have it yet though.
Thank you.
So coming soon, stay tuned, okay? Sharon, and then Grania, and then, oh, it's time?
Time, yeah.
Okay, Grania, sorry. We're gonna maybe at the end we'll have a little bit of time.
Can I just say one sentence about the timing of it?
Yes.
So the proposals aren't due to the conference committee until 60 days before the conference, and then they are published 30 days before the conference. So you wouldn't expect to see the proposals until 30 days before the conference.
Thank you, Grania.
Great, thank you.
From our past president extraordinaire. Thank you. Okay, so thank you, Sharon, for timing. I'm going to ask you to set the timer again for another 20 minutes. And this is when Peggy and I, but mostly Peggy, I'll just do an intro. We'll talk about the evolution of a new workshop that the board has approved and we hope will become a popular, well-attended monthly event. And Dottie, hopefully this will answer your question. But the beginning, the creation, so to speak, came about because of the GreySheet World Service survey that was done a couple of years ago. Some of you may remember it. And one of the recurring themes from that survey was that there felt like, even if it was just a perception, because for those of us on the board, we feel like, that's the most important thing. But there was a feeling that there was a disconnect between the board and GreySheet, the mechanics of weighing and measuring, and just everything about being abstinent. That somehow, not that what what we all do is important and essential in keeping this running effectively, but that there needed to be a way to bridge what the board does and what we are doing in our kitchens every day. And so the board decided and approved that we would just try to run monthly meetings where we would take topics from the community where people had questions about just what happens when I'm in the hospital, or what about, many of us are aging. Like, what do we do? What if we don't have partners? I mean, this is what we're working on. We have, Peggy will speak to this, but we've developed like the first quadrant for these meetings. But really, we wanted to bring this up because none of this is how you do it. This is just asking a couple of our members in the program that the chairs have appointed to run a meeting talking about their experience, strength, and hope, and what are the nuts and bolts of doing it in these situations. So that is how it came about. And also, now I'm going to turn it over to Peggy because I've really talked way too much. And thank you, Peggy, for talking about the anatomy of this.
Thank you, Barbara. And yeah, I'm so glad that we have 28 people here so that we can get your input. This, as Barbara said, this was inspired by the feeling that a lot of people had, which was there's this bureaucracy up there. What the hell are they doing? And we here are going to meetings talking about how to not eat no matter what. And so we thought, wow, there's so many ways to bring back the focus to the third tradition, that this is a program for people who want to stop eating compulsively, and that's the most important thing. It's more important than all the different committees that we have, is that we're not going to have any GSA unless people can stay abstinent. And that is the bottom line, is how to support everybody's abstinence. I just want to briefly say the other two inspirations for this workshop idea that Barbara and I came up with. One was the Spanish community, and I think I saw Dahlia. There she is. Hi, Dahlia. The Spanish community, bless their souls. At least 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, I can't remember, they organized 2 fantastic workshops by Zoom that were open to everybody. About 50 people showed up on each of them, I'm guessing. And they were on topics that everybody wants to know. The first one was on how to sponsor. And everybody who has ever sponsored, which is most of us, knows that feeling of, what do I do when a sponsee asks me something I don't know what to do? And we know that we ask our own sponsors, but we're confused, especially if we're newly abstinent. And anyway, it was a workshop of how to sponsor. And a workshop is different from a meeting. And this is really important for how we're going to do it. This is not going to be a typical GreySheet meeting. We are going to invite crosstalk. Imagine, because we want questions. We want people to be able to say, what about this? And somebody else to say, well, I had this experience. So it's going to be experimental because we've never done this in a GreySheet meeting, but it's going to really be trying to get into the weeds based on 2 leaders who will talk about their own experience. I just want to briefly say and by the way, the other workshop that the Spanish community did was, why do we say the mantra? That was great because the Spanish community was new at the time and they thought that was pretty weird, the mantra. So that was one of the best workshops. The other inspiration is the book, Living Abstinent, which of course was based on Living Sober, which is the great AA book about the nuts and bolts. Yeah, there it is. Thank you, Sharon. And kudos to Sharon and her literature committee, and the people who worked on Living Abstinent spent at least 5 years. And it's a wonderful chapter by chapter of how to. The difference is that it's a book. We want interactive, current time discussion so that somebody can spend a minute saying, I'm scheduled for surgery, 2 weeks from now, and I'm terrified. What am I going to do about X? A lot of it has to do with whether it's leg surgery or intestinal surgery. I mean, we have to get down to brass tacks. Legs, you can eat. Intestinal surgery, you can't eat. So we need to talk about what it means to go into the hospital as a GreySheeter and not be able to eat for days. In my case, once it was for 2.5 weeks, I was not allowed to eat in the hospital. So what we're going to do is we've named the first quadrant, meaning the first 4 workshops, starting in September. We're going to call it the health, illness, and aging. But FYI, aging is going to include end of life issues because, like it or not, a lot of us GreySheeters have been around a long time, and there is passing happening. But even if you're a young person, you have people in your life that are dealing with end of life. So the first 4 workshops, and this is just very general, are going to be on how to deal with illness in general, how to deal with aging, and aging involves, not being able to eat the biggest and the greasiest and the best every single meal. Since so much of our Cambridge tradition is that we eat the biggest and the best and the greasiest, what happens when we can't digest that anymore? How are we going to handle that in the aging process? We're going to talk another one specifically on hospitalizations. And like I said, it matters why you're in the hospital. And then finally, the end of life. The second quadrant is loosely going to be relationship issues. That will cover all kinds of issues from, a spouse who's deathly ill in which you are the caretaker. How do you deal with those kinds of things, to if anybody's young enough to still be dating, those kinds of things, how to deal with, in-laws, very, very interactive. So that's just the general, if you like the book, Living Abstinent, you'll like our workshops, we hope. And so, Barbara, if it's okay, why don't we open it up to questions?
Yeah, one quick comment. I want to you've said this, but I want to just make sure it's clear that this is not a directive from the board on how to do any of these things. It will most likely, sometimes there may be a board member coincidentally who has expertise or experience, not expertise, that's the wrong word, in that area. But it will not be predominantly led by the board. These are just going to be people in the community. Some of whom don't even know what World Service is, but who will give their experience, strength, and hope. So I just wanted to make sure that's clear because, the opposite is we don't want to come in as the board saying this is what you do. And so I hope everyone leaves with that. Okay.
Oh, and Barbara,
Yes.
just to answer Dottie's question, these are open to everybody. Like I said, we hope as many people, and we have not discussed whether it will be recorded. That would be a tricky issue because of anonymity. But I think you asked that, whether it would be posted. Maybe I did. Maybe I imagined that you asked that, but that's a really good question that we haven't faced yet. So we'll talk about that. And they'll be on, by the way, just FYI, they will be Sunday afternoons. We haven't picked a time, but because we have to fit it in between town halls and concepts and traditions and everything else that goes on Sundays, but we'll find a way.
Thanks, Peggy. And so this is an opportunity for both questions, and we really welcome anything that you'd like to see. It doesn't necessarily mean, that it will happen, but we're opening up the floor. Okay, Dahlia, come on in.
Well, thank you so much for putting this idea of workshop for La Comunidad Hispana. They have a lot of questions, and we really want to learn about your experience. I know there's not only one way to do the GreySheet. There's many ways. You have a lot of years of experience, so I really want to thank you. And my question is gonna be a committee and also is going to be the workshop for public, right? So the committee is open also for how many years of experience, so I can invite La Comunidad Hispana to be part of this committee.
Oh, I see. This is still in its beginning stages, so we haven't really formed the like 1 year, 2 year, anything like that. In fact, it's a great question, and we haven't even touched on it. So, Peggy, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Right now, it's a committee of two.
Okay.
Barbara and I. And we, to be honest, in the very early days, I think we probably will continue just to set things up in the beginning because it's already getting close to September. And, even scheduling a meeting with a committee is difficult. But it's, as I said, it's experimental. And so we can, as we move along, if people say, hey, I'd like to be on the committee, frankly, the committee is going to be pretty minimal. All we're going to be doing is trying to think who's been in the hospital for this, who's helped people in the hospital, trying to come up with ideas for who would lead each workshop. But we are completely open a little bit further down the line as we get our act together at this last minute. We've been working on this, believe it or not, for 6 or 8, probably 8 months. And here we are suddenly, you know how that happens. But we're going to be completely open to, and we hope that you'll ask at some point, Dahlia, because you're on the board, so we can hear from you, something more specific like, can I invite somebody to be part of the PIC community that names leaders, that kind of thing.
And well, I will want to know when it's gonna be the workshop also, so I can
everybody
spread the
will
message
know.
and everybody comes to hear. Yes, this
we will
workshop.
be once we have a date and a time and a Zoom. You'll get sick of hearing about it because we will assign people to be making announcements at every single meeting.
Thank you.
I will master Wordly. That's my commitment.
Thank
Sharon,
you.
5 minutes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. In that time, we have Carla and then Catherine and then Deb.
Just quickly, is it going to be an individual speaker with the experience or a panel of speakers? And what is the abstinence requirement for the speakers?
Well, right now it's structured as 2 speakers leading together. And again, just as with the committee, we haven't really said what the actual requirement is. I'm just throwing out that I would guess it would be at least a year, but we haven't really touched on that yet.
And those are 2 separate things, right? You're hearing that as 2 separate things. Someone who wants to join the committee and someone who will be
Yes,
leading.
I am hearing that. Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly. Yes. Catherine?
Thank you. I'm unmuted. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. What a great idea. My thought went to the GreySheet clarification document and how it was in part made to create unity, to foster unity. And I'm just wondering if this sounds like it has great potential, but also has some dicey area related to specificity of things. I know I've sadly witnessed on a meeting somebody giving their share and somebody else or 2 people shouting, "No, that's not abstinent." Do you know what I mean? So I'm just That was a while back, but just have we thought about that? You know, just it's just a delicate balance, I think, unity versus the opposite. Thank you.
Well, Barbara asked me to answer this. These are going to be very sensitive issues for some of us. Most of us aren't used to talking about our innards. Our digestive problems are, some of us have been through life and death illnesses, and, have to make adjustments in food, et cetera, under the supervision of our sponsor. This is going to be tightly monitored. There's going to be no room for anybody yelling at each other. The idea of making it open to crosstalk is already pretty paradigm shifting for a GreySheet meeting, right? So there's going to be some ground rules that everybody has to implicitly agree to, and those ground rules will be spelled out. 2 minutes. Thank you, Sharon. So thank you, Catherine, for the warning, so to speak, that something like that could happen. As far as the clarifications, that is a separate issue. The status of the clarifications as a document, that is, as of now, we do not, unless there's a mass demand, in which case we would consider it. But that is something that right now is not, we do not foresee a workshop focused on the clarifications, because that has a whole life of its own, a whole history of its own. Somebody just texted me a message, which I think is a really great question. I don't know why I didn't think to mention it sooner. One of the issues that could be considered for a workshop is gaining weight on GreySheet abstinence. You're totally dedicated, you're doing everything right, and you're either gaining weight after or you can't lose as much as you'd like. That would be a really, really good workshop topic, because I know a lot of people deal with that.
I am going, before Deb and Jessica come in, because I know our time is almost up, I'm going to ask if anybody has an objection, since we are missing a few presentations today, and it will enable us to have a few minutes of that time, if we can extend this conversation for another 5 minutes. Is there anyone who has an objection to that? Okay, so Sharon, thank you. If you could restart the timer, and then we'll hear from Deb and Jessica and Amy. But before Deb, I just need to put in my 2 cents that regarding Catherine's, is it going to unify or split? This is regarding food, and this is also for the clarification, this meeting too. This is a always ask your sponsor kind of thing. That's the goal. That's the rule. The one rule that we all live by is ask your sponsor. So, okay, Deb, come on in.
All right. Thank you so much, Barbara. Just a clarification. It sounds like this is definitely going to be a Zoom meeting versus a phone meeting, which of course I'm partial to phone, but I can do Zoom. And so just a clarification, if you could answer that. And then the other thing, have you started working on a format which could sort of outline the way the proceedings are going to go, and the thing about respecting other people's comments, that kind of thing?
Yeah, go ahead, Peggy.
Yes, absolutely. When we had to get this approved by the board, and it took quite a few tries, and so we had to submit to the board, or at least we thought it would be a good idea to submit to the board very specific. We don't want to hold ourselves to that precise structure, but I can just tell you that it has something. I'm looking for my on my proposal here where we, oh yeah, we basically are going to have each person of the two leaders do a qualification. It's not a food story at all. It has to be sharply focused on experience, strength, and hope with the topic of the workshop. So we're going to take it as a given that everybody's been eating all their lives and they couldn't stop, blah, blah, blah. We're then going to open up the meeting to probably 2-minute timeshares that will be framed as questions. And it's not going to be a Q&A to the leaders at all. It's going to be questions put out there into the stratosphere of the meeting. And then we'll have a round in which people can respond to those questions. And so that first everybody will be able to ask their question, because otherwise we'll go down a rabbit hole with one question, and everybody's going to want to weigh in on that one thing. So this is and towards the end, the leaders will probably come back in with themselves addressing the questions. And then we'll open it up for another round. It's going to be an hour and a half, so it'll be longer. And we will write out, and yes, it's a Zoom meeting. Sorry, Deb. But you can wear PJs as long as they're respectable.
Okay, we're going to get in Jessica, Amy, and Sharon, I think. Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Deb. Jessica and yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And thank you for all your work to everyone, because this is really exciting for me personally, and also I think for the phone bridge. So I guess my question was about kind of along the lines of format, but within the secretary position, if there are recordings or notes taken, could the phone bridge possibly get a summary of the questions or depending if it's recorded or not? Because for our business meetings, and also we're working on a service playback line for the phone bridge. So even if it's not the entire meeting, do you think something like that would be possible? Totally just putting it out there. You don't have to answer it right now. And then the other thing that I was really curious about for the phone bridge is if there was the possibility of having an old timers, this is how we got abstinent, this is what we did. If you want what we have, do what we do kind of thing for the phone bridge, because we're kind of a gateway for a lot of newcomers. And that includes a lot of newcomer sponsorship. So as this is passed on from the lineage of carry that on. So you don't have to answer any of them right now at all. Just wanted to put that out there. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. I'm going to just have it down because I'd love to get Sharon in, and then we can see what's timing is left. Come on in, Sharon.
It was just to say that 5 minutes is now
up.
And also just to remember, there's a question in the chat from Anne B in France that hasn't been answered yet.
Yes, the question we'll just finish up. Thank you, Sharon. Anne asked about whether we can mention foods on this meeting, and I believe that's what she asked. And yes, we are, because we're going to be like there'll be crosstalk. It's a different kind of meeting, and we will, especially in terms of the aging and health and hospitalization, people will be able to ask about the food, about specifics. Okay, so let's move on. I thank everybody for all their consideration and openness, and the board really did a great job in assessing and coming back with edits and changes, and it's really to bring it closer to the community at large, and that's the purpose. So we will move on now, and we will go to this is where we sort of have a few extra minutes, which I thank you all for agreeing to that. The update on the vision and 4 core functions. Marvin is not here today to talk about the integrity of the Gray Sheet program, but he reported in on it at the last meeting, and we will make sure in these follow-up notes that there will be a message from him. Sharon, did you feel like would you like to take a few minutes just to talk about the state of the literature committee, or great. Okay, set the timer for you.
How much time shall I set it for? 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
Okay, so hi everybody. I'm abstinent by the grace of God. I'm a grateful member of this fellowship. I'm in my 3rd year as chair of the literature committee. It's a real privilege and an honor. It's a team it's a team effort. We get direction from the World Service Conference around what the fellowship want to produce in terms of literature. So we follow your instruction. We're not acting independently. We're not making literature decisions that we've plucked out of the air. We get direction from you, from conference. Proposals come into us for various ideas to do a whole bunch of stuff. Those proposals are reviewed by us. They go to the chairs and ISRs meeting. They also go to the board of trustees. If we get a green light through that process, the proposal then comes to the conference in October for the fellowship to vote. So just up to date, we're currently working on the history book. We're putting all of our resources into trying to get that history book into its final stages. It's limped along for over 10 years now. I think the conference asked for this history book to be produced in 2013, and because of lack of volunteers and continuity and people coming and going, things just were not making any progress. But this committee is now putting all of its energy and all of its resources into bringing this history book into its final stages. We're currently transcribing over 50 audio files of interviews that were conducted with members who've been part of the creation of GreySheeters Anonymous, and those audio files are being transcribed so that the digital record can then be interpreted into an agreed chapter plan. So watch this space. We're also doing a load of translations. A lot of our conference approved literature is now being picked up by members in Israel, in Poland, in Germany, in Spain, across Latin America, and our literature is now being translated into those languages. It's a huge undertaking, and our Israeli community have just they're putting together a proposal to produce a Hebrew Gray Sheet member stories book, which will have to be translated into English so that we can all review it before it comes to conference. So the Israelis are getting on board with our conference approved literature process, and they've elected a member who will sit on the World Service Literature Committee and be our liaison between the Hebrew speaking community around the world and us. And we're also constantly calling for member stories, content, your story, 90 plus days of abstinence, your story condensed into 500 words. Our website needs content, new content, needs constantly updating. And the reason for that is so that our search engine optimization is maximized, which means the more new content we're posting on our website, the higher up the search engine results GreySheet comes when people are looking for a solution to compulsive eating. So anybody want to submit their story, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now, and you can condense it into 500 words, just email us at literature@greysheet.org, and our subcommittee looking at that work will take a look at your writing and work with you to get something published. I think that's it. I've got 1 minute and 20 seconds left. Any questions?
Phyllis?
Infinite thanks. Is the request for the qualifications or stories, histories, individual histories, on the website? Like, I've not even heard anybody ever ask for anything to be submitted in a long time. So that's wonderful. Is it something that I could announce at meetings, or that's not appropriate?
It's absolutely appropriate. Thank you, Phyllis. And we've been shouting out to the fellowship for, several months at these town halls, at committees connecting, at the chairs and ISRs. We've asked ISRs to go back to the intergroup. So if your intergroup hasn't got an ISR and the ISR is not attending the meetings, then that's currently where the breakdown in communication happens. So please, yes, pass it on. Thanks, Phyllis.
I attend meetings where there are GSRs and nobody's made that announcement for submittals. It's sad. Okay,
you can
thank
carry
you.
the flame. You can carry the flame. Thanks, Phyllis. Thanks, everyone. Any other questions?
Thank you, Sharon. Excellent. Wow, you guys are doing so much. Okay, next we will hear from Carolyn and the website committee.
Hey, could I get screen sharing, please? Share.
Your co-host now, Carolyn.
Okay. Let's see if it's okay. Can you see my screen? You can see it. Okay. Okay. Slideshow. So, place from start. Everybody can see my screen. We're okay. Okay. So, the newest thing that we have added to our website is automatic translations into a variety of languages. We picked languages that came to us from the members who said we need these languages. We technically are two websites these days, so there are two different. So on the main homepage, there's this menu in the upper left. There's little flags, English, French, German, etc. And then the calendar section is a separate website. Whoops, I have to go back. And that, sorry, I just went to the wrong thing. And on that section, it's in the upper right corner. And it doesn't have the little flags. It just shows the names of the languages. And it's sort of an evolving thing. This is machine translation. Obviously, we don't have some kind of staff out there translating every word. But the feedback we have gotten is that it's pretty darn good. There was one language that the people who speak that language felt that the translations were very poor, and we took that down at their request. And we can continue to add or subtract languages at people's request. And, it's just part of making our website and our fellowship more inclusive to all. Of course, really big thing that's new that I shared about it, I think the last town hall, but I'll share about again, is that we have a new calendar and registration system. So the meetings, why it matters, the meetings are the heart of our fellowship, and the calendar is where most people find out about them. So meetings now show in people's local time zone. Group registration is simpler with, more streamlined updates. As ever, you go to GreySheet.org to find meetings and click on Find a Meeting. And then you do sometimes have to refresh your browser to see it in your local time zone. There's a little message there telling you about that. And there's multiple ways to search meetings by intergroup, meeting type, focus, format, language, camera, on or off, etc. On the meeting page, there's more links on the right-hand side about, reminder of how to get the passcode or pins. There's the report and issue page, which is important to know about if anything bad comes out. And group registration is likewise more streamlined and simpler. It is sort of a two-step process, but they're short steps, whereas it used to be a long, cumbersome step. You request an update. You give us information about your meeting, so we know what your meeting is. So you tell about when it meets, and what intergroup it is, or just whatever you know. We send you a link that allows you to see your existing registration form pre-populated with all the information, and you only have to change what's different. That process can take a couple of days or a few days because, we have human volunteers behind a lot of this. So that's that. And then we have these report and issue place to click if you see any problems. So we have had some problems lately with the website, with people who have, like, Norton antivirus is sometimes identifying our website as problematic. Usually the issue is if instead of just typing in greysheet.org, you have to type, in the top where it says http:// put an S after the P for secure. And that often addresses it. We did have an issue recently where the whole website had to be reverted to May 1st status. And so for like 3 or 4 days, everything that had come in since May 1st was missing. And then we got it all back up. So our website technology is kind of old. It is possible that at some point we might need to come to the board and ask for money to do a more thorough overhaul of the underpinnings. Frankly, that technology is beyond me. I rely on our paid person and also the wonderful Sally, but they both are concerned that we are starting to have various meltdown issues with the infrastructure. But that's for another day. So I'm open to questions.
Jessica.
Hi, sorry, one more question. I don't need the answer now, Carolyn. I'm happy to meet with you later to not take time. But my question is that for the phone bridge, we have a number of meetings that are not registered or don't show up on the meeting. And who should I talk to get them updated?
That would
if
be
I
our
have multiple meetings like that.
So that would be Grania, our registrar.
Yeah.
She's actually looking for a replacement for herself. But
Good chance to give Grania a call.
She is the registrar.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jessica. Come on in, Catherine. Just you unmute.
Thank you. I have done this before. Oh boy. Anyway, thank you, Jessica, for that. I'm the chair of intergroup. We do mention that at the intergroup meeting. I appreciate that. I want to say, shoot, what was it here? Oh yes, just related to our website. I wonder, do we know? I guess you would know. Does GSA or is there a movement towards maybe in the future, if we don't already, do we own the server that we're on? Does anybody know?
I do not. I don't
think so. No, owning a server is a huge.
We don't own a server.
No, that's tens of thousands. No.
Okay. Just something for the future. A smaller one isn't as huge price wise, but just for autonomy and all that stuff. Just put it out there. Thank you.
Okay. So wait, let me just ask Catherine, are you a tech person? Because we would, if you know about these things, we would love to get your input. We are always desperately seeking people who actually do have technical knowledge to help us. So is that something that you personally know about?
I have enough to know what the vulnerabilities are. Some of the vulnerabilities are. That's all.
Okay.
But thank you. If I did, I would jump in. Believe me.
Okay.
Thanks, Catherine. Amy, you had a comment? Okay. No. Okay. Okay. Any other questions for Carolyn? Thank you, Carolyn. That was a great update. Okay, next is from the Public Information Committee, and Mahal could not be here, so I'll just do a very brief update. It is a committed new group, and we are all excited about spreading the word. And the first order of business was revising on the website. And thanks to Carolyn, we have now put an updated group purpose on there. So I urge everyone, if you're just scrolling through, check it out. The last one was from 2019. And we've also updated the goals to from 2020, which were on there, to a little bit more current. We have voted on that as a group now, and that will be, I'm going to send that over to Carolyn this week to update in as she can. But it really, I'm just gonna do bullet points very briefly for the goals, because I think that's the most important thing, is to create a more updated and relevant public information committee page on the website. So that's what we're working on. Post the public information monthly meetings on all social media pages and members' respective meetings individually, so that we can continue to grow the Public Information Committee. We have a core of about 7 people, which is great, but we also just love the more people that come, the better ideas, like even just hearing from Wendy about the scientific community. So that will continue to first increase our participation, which will in turn create more outward exposure. And just identify other 12-step meetings and their world conferences where we can go and set up a table, ask people who go to other meetings. 5 minutes. That's it. Oh, okay, hold on. Sharon, you're
Sorry, that was the end of the last 5 minutes.
Oh,
So
okay. I won't
this
take
is the third 5 minutes section. I wasn't sure if this
Oh
is
no,
the
I'm
20
sorry,
minutes.
and I wasn't clear. It's fine. I'm just gonna I have 5 minutes, but I won't take them. And I started already. So, and partner with Patricia, who's our social media manager, because that's essential. We're still looking for a chair if anybody knows of anyone, but in the interim, Mihal's doing an amazing job of chairing of the meetings. And what else? I think that was pretty much it. So please, 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 if you have any ideas, there is a public information email, which I will put in the chat, about ways to reach the community. And if you see opportunities that you would like to participate in, and yeah, so that's it. Are there any questions around that? Okay. So it is now 12:18, and at this point, I believe we will now go to Amy, where she will just report about the state of the Treasury and a couple of other things. Amy,
Hey, everyone. Sure. This is very brief. I wanted
Sharon,
to.
5 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, unless there are questions, it won't take that long. I want to say that we are, I took the position as treasurer because I was so puzzled about where the money went, and it was very, very vague to me. So I can tell you that the money goes to very basic things that we need to run this this organization. Basic things like, literature and lights and, just all that stuff. So I wanted to say that personal mention. We are on track so far this year in terms of our seventh tradition donations, on budget. If the year continues as it has, we will meet our budget and probably exceed it. So that's a part, that's really positive news. And I think that people are, I mean, that can only mean that people are digging a little deeper and remembering to do it, which is where I want to go next. The thing that I find in my own experience is by being on Zoom meetings, which is where we are a lot, it's not as the reminder to give to the seventh tradition is not the same as in face-to-face meeting where the basket used to go around. While we do announce it and we do put it in the chat, it's still a little bit where people are still getting situated in the meeting and not really thinking about it. So I wanted to recommend something that now that I'm in this, I see a lot of people do, which is a recurring donation. So sort of like if you go to 2 meetings a week and you want to just be kind of put in whatever is meaningful to you for those 2 meetings, set it up as a recurring donation. And that is something you can do with PayPal. And if you go on our website, you will see how you can do that. If you just go to the click on the main website, just go to donate and then seventh tradition, and then it'll take you to show you how to do a recurring donation. And then you don't have to think about it. And then the other thing that was brought up, especially in sort of, I guess in the spirit of our first quadrant of workshop meetings, health, illness, and end of life, you can also remember GreySheeters Anonymous in your will. And that isn't something we like to think about or talk about, but it's a very easy way to do something that you, again, won't have to think about, but will be super meaningful. The cap on that is $8,000. So it's very nominal amount because it's a small organization and we don't want to take too much from any single person. So and in the way to do that, if you're not familiar, is whoever does your estate planning or your will, or even if you do it yourself, you can do that. You can make that provision. And all of these things that I just talked about you can ask me questions about if you're unclear. They're on the website. There's so many places where it says, ask the treasurer, ask the treasurer, ask the treasurer. So those emails come to me and I will do my best or get the answer, and we will work through whatever your questions are.
Thank you so much, Amy. Peggy.
I just wanted to add that there's 2 options for leaving in your will or estate plan, as the fancy people call it. There's GSA or GSAs, which is a cap of 8,000, but there's a separate possibility for leaving for the phone bridge, if that's been your main thing. And that, unfortunately, has a cap at this current stage of $1,500. But it's something, it's something. So you can do both. I've done both. For example, in my will, I have the amount for GSAWs and then the phone bridge. And I think it's because the phone bridge is a separate entity.
That is why. Thank you for that, Peggy.
Dottie and then Catherine.
Hi, Dottie here, from the Archives Committee. So on the same idea, we're not looking for any donations in monetary things, but if you own interesting archival material, please think of leaving it to the archives. For example, if you have a scale that's 30 years old, we would love to have it. Things of that nature. Old T-shirts you never wear, things like that, things with history, and attach a history to it. And thank you very much.
Oh, Dottie, that's great. Great. I love that idea. Okay, Catherine, come on in.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Amy. And my question was, oh yes. So related to the Treasury, this is just sort of a general question. I know we have a prudent reserve, often as the principle, a practice rather, and principle. But then I'm just wondering, I know I mentioned a server, it's just an example, but if there was something larger that, because when we get in a certain amount, there could be this idea or this feeling like you have to spend a certain amount to make sure you're not holding too much money. So in which case buying something like a server or whatever, was decided on for our future benefit or whatever as a fellowship, having sort of deposits put in it, sort of like a, whatever, like a payment onto the principal of that eventual cost. Could help in that scenario. But I'm just wondering, what's the practice now if there's like a surplus? Because, it's sort of like with, you don't want quantity over quality, in a sense, right? Like, so because we have it, we have to feel sort of pushed to spend it on something. I don't know if you get what I'm driving at, Amy, but if you could respond.
I do.
What did you just tease out of that?
Well, it's the fundamental principle of a nonprofit. You raise money. Money comes in order to do what? To forward the mission of the organization. It's not we're not a for-profit. We're not looking to buy any, real estate or accumulate fixed assets or things like that. And we are obviously very virtual, and we're decentralized, and we have no office. So your question is, in fact, of the moment, because that is a topic that has come up again and again, because what are we? What is our prudence? There isn't at this moment that I know of a plan for spending our money, which is really what we have to also be thinking about as much as collecting it. So we're in a pattern. That's something that I'm going to be looking at. I just took my position as the treasurer, and I'd like to look at that too. Make sure that we're able to do what is, that we're doing what is appropriate for the board to be doing. Like, can it support different intergroups? Can it do this or that? Like, I have some learning on this curve to do.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, everyone. Well, we have 3 minutes to wrap this up, and I want to thank everybody again. Grania for doing the wordly portion and the participation, and Carla for moderating, and Sharon for hosting. The next town hall will be in 2027, TBD. We will make sure everybody has plenty of notice. And based on what I've been reading, the odd years, and it will be 2027, they will be held on Saturdays this year because even years are on Sundays, and Stacy's shaking her head in agreement. And I just want to say that the board is amazing. And I know I'm not saying that because I'm on it, but you can hear that we're a relatively young group, and everyone has come with energy and excitement and great ideas. And I just kind of wanted to leave us with that thought. And with regard to the workshop, um, speaking to the privacy issue, for lack of a different email, until we have set that up, that will specifically be dedicated to the workshop committee. If anyone here has any ideas before we get officially an email that is more anonymous, Peggy will put in the chat my email address, and some of you have it. if you have any ideas about what you'd like to see. So we forgot to add that in terms of what happens when we get off this meeting. So with that, thank you all for oh, Phyllis, did you have a question in our last 30 seconds?
It's not a question, but can I just say one sentence?
Sure.
Okay, I can't thank the committee enough, and especially want to thank you and Peggy, because these workshops that you're going to do, I literally begged the New York Roundup committee, who I was on for many years and loved the round, but because there were over 400 people that would come back in the 90s and in the early 2000s, and I begged the committee, and I was shot down we don't want to think about that. We don't want to think about that. Well, it was 20 years ago, and it was time to think about it back then. So kudos to the two of you. You're brilliant. Brilliant.
Well, on that note, I'll just add the board heard what the community wanted. So thank you all. Would all who care to unmute, and we will close with the serenity prayer. God,
grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things I can,
and the wisdom
to know the difference.
Keep coming back.
thanks everybody.